These are still a little wet. That's okay. Hey, welcome back to Black Magic Craft. I am a very nostalgic person. Most of my hobbies revolve around nostalgia in some way or another. And lately I've been nostalgic for my early days on YouTube as a channel, but also as a viewer. I've been missing those cozy early days of the YouTube hobby world and kind of revisiting some old content, mine and others. Last video, I made some cave pillars that were kind of in that early YouTube crafting sort of style. And it made me want to go back to my first ever video on the channel when I made some simple stone cave tiles. I love those things. They were great. They not only were they the start of the channel, they were the start of my hobby crafting journey and my journey as a DM using terrain, and they got a lot of use out of them. Eventually they got given away and replaced by, I don't know, battle mats, other tiles. I did redo cave tiles at some point for myself that I never made a video on, but I realized how great they were and I wanted to make a new set so that I could have a new set. These are so classic, not just for cave terrain, but for any kind of tabletop games, wargaming, you know, not reinventing the wheel here. Yeah, just a fun project, and I wanted to see how I would approach it doing it today. I grabbed the only sheet of 1.5" foam that I had on hand, and it wasn't very big, so I was limited to making my set out of this sized piece, but it was big enough to make a little set. But since I was limited on size, I did decide to kind of roughly mark out what I wanted to break the pieces down into size-wise, and I just like scored them and snapped them before taking them to the hot wire cutter to do the actual organic shapes. Whenever I was left with a cutoff that was large enough to make a small additional piece with, I grabbed it and cut out what I could save from that scrap. Then I got to texturing the rock edge, and at first I tried the same kind of knife scraping method that I had used on the cave pillars on the previous video, but just the shape of these, it didn't work as well. It was a lot more awkward to do. With the pillars, I had long pieces that I was scraping this way. So the knife was 90 degrees to the like 1.5" width, easy to scrape. And that made layer lines this way, but I wanted them this way. So I'd have to scrape like this. And that just is a lot harder to do with the knife parallel to the foam. It really didn't work. Oh man, these are still really oily. It really didn't work as well. So I had to mess around and find some other ways to texture the foam edges. One thing I tried was using a very sharp drywall knife or putty knife, hacking and scraping, and that kind of worked well, but it was still pretty awkward and didn't give me a result that I loved. So I eventually landed on this. There's probably a very specific name for this, but when I was in construction, we just called this a red and silver pry bar. It's a very thin pry bar that's used mostly for pulling off baseboards and stuff. It's technically a painter's tool, but it has this scraping edge on it, you know, for like scraping paint. And this worked really well for giving the texture. Sometimes when you're doing these kind of tasks, it's not just about what gives you a good result. It's also trying to find things that are comfortable and ergonomic to do, so that you can do them on a large scale without, you know, say your hand cramping or getting tired or annoyed or hurting yourself. This is an often overlooked and undermentioned aspect to techniques in the hobby. Like, it's great if you can do something on a little piece and it works awesome, but that might not be practical to replicate over a large number of pieces. And yeah, just scraping with this thing, holding the pieces in my lap to get a really good position on it, I found to be the most effective way to get this texture. Unfortunately, this is very messy. Yeah, no way around it. It's really messy. Someone mentioned on the previous video doing the scraping over a garbage bag, and that's a great idea. Although I think when doing like this much and doing it in my lap, I would have needed a huge garbage bag. But if you can do something like that, put something down, you can just lift up afterwards. It'll save you a lot of hassle. Otherwise, shop vac, and then that'll be a problem for later when you empty the shop vac and it's full of staticky foam pieces. And then I came to the surface, and when I did the original cave tiles, I glued down some sand and small rocks. And this looked good, but it wasn't the best solution when it came to actually using it in games. If you glue rocks down to a flat surface and then want to put terrain on them, there's gonna be a whole bunch of spots where it's not gonna wanna sit flat. And let me tell you, that's not great. Also, any larger rocks eventually will get knocked off, and then you'll have a little spot where it shows the foam, and you don't want that. So for these, I wanted to keep the top surface flat and any texture to be indented rather than raised. So I did that by smashing it with a big piece of limestone. This is just a piece of limestone from my yard. Where I live, limestone is very prevalent. Of course, you could just use like a broken piece of concrete or something like that, something you can get a good grip on and just dent and smash and change directions to get different shapes and lines and indentations. I will say that the denser your foam is, the better this will work. I'm using a really dense foam here from my foam supplier. There's a link in the description. It takes this texture way better than the stuff that I can get at my local building supply stores. So just something to keep in mind. But I really love the texture that this gives. It makes it look like a nice natural rock surface. Now, before I get to actually coating these in something and painting them, I'm gonna take a second to talk about this video sponsor, Squarespace. If you need a website, try them out. There's a lot of reasons to build your website using Squarespace. It's easy to use. You can pick a pre-designed template to start with and quickly adjust it to meet your needs. You can use the built-in AI tools to help design your website, even if you're not sure what to do yourself. And you can easily create an integrated online store. If you sell products or services online, you can get a store up and running in just a few moments. You can process orders and payments using Squarespace payments, make invoices for clients, whatever you need for your hobby or business. I use Squarespace to sell original creations like my new Dungeon Door Guy miniature, which is available now, and my game Idols of Torment. I like the system so much that after using it for one of my websites, I decided to use it for all of them. If you want to see how effective and easy to use their website building tools are, go try them out for yourself, for free. Use the URL squarespace.com/blackmagiccraft and start a free trial. And then once you're convinced and ready to launch it, use the code BlackMagicCraft to save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain. So to coat these, in the past I've used Mod Podge and black paint on tons of projects, and I've recently switched to using acrylic latex caulking. Specifically Dynaflex 230, it comes in brown, it comes in black. In this case, I didn't have much black left, so I used brown and a little bit of black. Color doesn't really matter too much. And I did mix in some fine sand because I wanted a little bit of grit, but again, just a little bit of grit, nothing big enough to stop things from sitting nicely on the surface. And I just apply this with a damp brush. I don't dilute it or anything. But why do I use this caulking now instead of Mod Podge? I just think it's a little bit better. It's most importantly more flexible. So if something takes a dent or hit or even stretch or a bend after it's done, Mod Podge will probably crack, whereas caulking is meant to flex. It's meant to seal gaps. So that flexibility is really nice. Essentially, it kind of makes a rubber seal across your entire piece. I've also found personally that it takes paint better. It's got a little bit more tooth to it. Mod Podge, even the matte stuff, still dries pretty shiny. And when you brush on paint, you are more likely to get like brush strokes and whatnot. But I found that using the caulking as a primer coat works really well if you're brushing on craft paint afterwards. It makes it much easier to get an even coverage. And it's waterproof. Mod Podge is water resistant as compared to PVA glue because it has some water resistant resin in it, but it's not waterproof. Now that doesn't matter too much unless you're using heavy water-based washes, but it is a nice added perk. And I did end up doing these just with brushing on craft paint. I think when doing these big organic shapes, going back to that old style works really well. There's a tendency to paint things out, let it dry, then dry brush or stipple on another coat, then let it dry, and then continue to the next. But I found that it's actually a lot better to kind of hit multiple colors at once. I did my gray base coat, and then I dabbed on a light gray and some nutmeg brown. I did this while all of the paints were still wet. And this gave me some natural blends to create a more realistic looking rock color. I did let it dry before doing the last dry brushing with light gray though, so that I could just hit all the high edges. And this looks way too bright. I wouldn't want it to actually look like this, but I knew that I'd be moving into doing a wash. So I made sure to exaggerate all the highlights. Because the last thing I would do would be to apply an oil wash. And this is one of the things that really separates my new projects from my old projects. Even if I'm going kind of back to basic tools and painting with craft paints, the oil washes is what really elevates it over my early work. I just love the way that it flows, the way it dries, how you can wipe it off afterwards if you want to, and how you can do cool splattering effects to just tint things. It's really great. The downside is that it does take a long time to dry. I did these late last night, so these have been sitting for several hours and they're still not totally dry, but that's something I'm actually okay with. And if I want to speed up the drying time, I can dab away some of the excess thinner, but I'm just going to let them sit. I really like the way these came out. It was an absolute pleasure to return back to my roots, to my earliest project video, and do it with everything I've learned over the past 10 years since doing this the first time. It's kind of funny because I didn't change them that much. Fundamentally, they're the same thing, just slightly better skill. And it was a very pleasurable experience to do. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, do all the YouTube things, please. If you like what I've been doing on this channel for the past 10 years and you want to help me keep doing it for another 10 more, the best way you can do that is by supporting the channel on Patreon or buying some of my merchandise or games or original art either through blackmagiccraft.ca or idolsoftorment.com. I really appreciate you watching not just this video, but all the ones over the years. It's been 10 years or getting up close to 10 years. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, time is a circle. We're right back to where we started and I couldn't be happier about it. Cheers. See you next time.